Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you've been taught about attraction, love, and what it means to be a man. From the moment you could walk, society has programmed you with a lie so dangerous, so destructive, that it has turned generations of men into hollow shadows of their potential. You've been told that your worth as a man is measured by how desperately you can pursue women, how skillfully you can perform for their attention, and how completely you can surrender your dignity in the name of romance. You've been conditioned to believe that chasing is caring, that persistence is passion, and that the more you beg for love, the more deserving you become of it. But here's the truth that no one dares speak. This modern blueprint for masculinity is not creating lovers, it's creating slaves. The ancient Stoics understood something that modern men have forgotten entirely. They knew that the moment you begin chasing another human being for validation, for affection, for the intoxicating drug of romantic approval, you have already lost the most precious thing you possess, your freedom. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the ancient world, wrote in his Meditations that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And nowhere is this more evident than in the tormented mind of a man who has made another person's affection the foundation of his happiness. When you chase, you are no longer living your life. You are living in the prison of someone else's potential response to your desperate advances. Consider the man who wakes up each morning with his first thought consumed by whether she texted him back. Watch him as he crafts and recrafts messages, analyzing every word for its potential to unlock her interest. Observe how his entire emotional state rises and falls based on the speed of her replies, the warmth of her tone, the frequency of her attention. This is not love, this is addiction. This is not masculinity, this is surrender. The chasing man has become a reactive creature, a puppet dancing to the strings of another person's moods and whims. He has abandoned the driver's seat of his own existence and handed the wheel to someone who never asked for such responsibility and likely doesn't want it. Epictetus, who knew bondage intimately as a former slave, taught that the only true freedom comes from recognizing what is within our control and what is not. A woman's feelings toward you, her decisions about your relationship, her level of attraction and interest, these are not within your control. They never were, and they never will be. Yet the chasing man spends his days exhausting himself trying to manipulate outcomes that were never his to command. He believes that if he just says the right words, performs the right gestures, demonstrates enough persistence and devotion, he can somehow force the universe to deliver the love he craves. But forced love is not love at all. It is compliance born from exhaustion, pity, or worse, fear. The tragic irony of chasing is that it destroys the very thing it seeks to create. Attraction is not born from desperation. It is born from strength. It is not kindled by neediness. It is ignited by independence. When you chase, you communicate to the world that you are incomplete, that your life lacks meaning without external validation, that your happiness hangs by the thread of another person's approval. And human nature, particularly feminine nature, is repelled by this energy. Not because women are cruel, but because desperation triggers an ancient survival instinct that recognizes weakness as a threat to security and strength. Seneca wrote that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. And perhaps nowhere is this wisdom more applicable than in the transformation from chaser to sovereign. The man who stops chasing doesn't lose opportunities for love, he creates space for respect. He doesn't become lonely, he becomes magnetic. When you cease the frantic pursuit, when you stop performing for approval, when you withdraw your desperate energy from the marketplace of validation, something profound happens. You remember who you were before you became addicted to the opinions of others. The Stoic man understands that true masculine power lies not in conquest, but in restraint. Not in pursuing, but in being worthy of pursuit. Not in begging for attention, but in commanding respect through the quiet dignity of his presence. He knows that silence often speaks louder than 1,000 desperate words, that walking away demonstrates more strength than 100 desperate advances. This is not game playing or manipulation. This is the natural expression of a man who has remembered his inherent value and refuses to negotiate it away for temporary comfort. When you build a life so rich with purpose, so driven by mission, so anchored in virtue, that romantic love becomes a beautiful addition rather than a desperate necessity. You transform from hunter to magnet. Women are drawn to men who are complete, who are going somewhere, who have something larger than themselves driving their daily actions. They are attracted to the man who would be fascinating and fulfilled, whether they existed or not. This is not selfishness. This is self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built. The chasing man lives in constant anxiety because his happiness depends on variables he cannot control. But the Stoic man sleeps peacefully because his contentment springs from sources that are entirely within his power. His commitment to virtue, his dedication to growth, his service to something greater than his own desires. He understands that love, real love, is not something you take from another person. It is something you give from a place of abundance, not scarcity. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we were born to work together, not to manipulate each other for personal gain. When you chase, you are not seeking partnership. You are seeking possession. You are not offering love, you are demanding it. The difference is profound, and the results are predictable. Healthy, confident, high-value women are repelled by the energy of possession and drawn to the energy of offering. They want to be chosen, not captured. They want to be invited into a beautiful life, not made responsible for creating one. The path forward is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It is not about playing hard to get or employing tactics of emotional manipulation. It is about the far more challenging work of becoming a man worth knowing, worth respecting, worth choosing. This means developing unshakable principles, pursuing meaningful goals, building skills that serve others, cultivating wisdom that enriches conversations, and maintaining physical and mental health that demonstrates self-respect. It means becoming someone whose life is so purposeful and fulfilling that romantic love enhances rather than completes it. True Stoic masculinity is not measured by how many women desire you, but by how completely you have mastered your own desires. It is not demonstrated by your ability to win hearts, but by your capacity to remain unmoved by rejection and ungrasping in acceptance. The Stoic man who has conquered his need for external validation becomes paradoxically more attractive because he radiates the rare energy of genuine contentment and self-possession. Remember this: every moment you spend chasing is a moment stolen from building. Every ounce of energy you pour into desperate pursuit is energy that could be invested in becoming the kind of man that others naturally want to follow, to support, to love. The universe responds not to your neediness, but to your strength. Not to your desperation, but to your discipline. Not to your chasing, but to your choosing to be so remarkable that others feel privileged to share your journey. So stop running toward what runs away from you. Start building something so magnificent that what belongs in your life cannot help but be drawn into your orbit. A man who stops chasing women doesn't lose love, he gains something far more valuable: respect, peace, freedom, and the magnetic power that comes from a life lived with purpose and dignity. This is the way of the Stoic. This is the path to true masculine strength.